I know a lot of beginners struggle with painful fingertips when they first start learning to play guitar, and in this video I'd like to give you a couple of pointers to help you in case your fingers are a little bit sore. Now don't worry too much about the pain because eventually your fingers will start to develop calluses, which will help a lot. Now what actually happens is the fingertips will become harder and harder, and then the pain will go away completely. But nonetheless, here are a few tips that will help you along the way as your fingers develop these calluses. Make sure that your guitar has been set up properly and that the action of the guitar is not too high. Now the action simply means how far the strings are from the fretboard. The further they are away from the fretboard, the harder you have to press and the more your fingers will hurt. Alright, so get your guitar checked out by a professional guitar tech, and then they can sort out your action for you. You might also consider using a lighter gauge strings, which are a lot easier to play. But now it's really important that you need to get your guitar set up with the right gauge strings right from the start. For example, if your guitar has been set up properly with, say, a heavy gauge strings and then you change to a light gauge, it could actually affect things like the action, which isn't ideal. So get it set up with the right gauge right from the start. When you play guitar, you also want to use as little effort as possible. So spend some time figuring out just how hard you actually need to press the notes on the guitar. 9 times out of 10, it's a lot less pressure than you might think. So let me give you an example of that. Just play a note and pay attention to how hard you're fretting that note. Now gently start releasing your fretting and pressure right until the note disappears completely. And then just fret it a little bit harder than that, just to get that sound back. Now what you might find is that you don't need to press as hard, and therefore your fingers don't need to work as hard, which will mean less pain, of course. And it's also great for the overall tuning of your notes. So, don't use excessive force when you play your chords. I know that some people like to kind of dip their fingers in cider vinegar or rubbing alcohol or surgical spirits, something like that. Because if you do that for 30 seconds, you might find that your fingertips get a little bit harder, and it also numbs them a little bit, which obviously helps with practicing guitar. Another tip is to not wash your hands right before you start playing or put any cream on them or anything like that, because this will actually soften your fingertips and just, kind of make it easier for them to get hurt. Using a capo on the first or second fret will also help bringing the strings a little bit closer to the neck, and which will make them easier to strum. Let me show you what that means. I'm just going to put a capo on the second fret here. Okay, so if you put a capo on the second or first fret, then as you see, it'll bring the strings to the guitar a lot closer to the fretboard, and you'll be able to play that with a lot less pressure. So lastly, just keep at it. Your fingers will adapt very soon, and then allow you to just get on with it and play guitar to your heart's content once those calluses are in